Well, hello and welcome once again to Culture Cove right here on Hued Network. As always, we're here to preserve the arts, culture, and also to ensure that conversations around this continue to grow so that there's no point where there's a gap where this generation or the next, all the ones that have come before, miss out on what's happening, what keeps us together as a people across the world. Welcome once again. I am Amadin Ogbewe. As always, I am not in the studio alone. I have a number of musketeers here to help me do justice to the issues at hand. Perhaps I should start from my closest left. I have, as always, the one and only Joe Neze. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm always happy to be here with you, Amadin. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's sometimes we go on and off, but when you come back, it's all smiles and happiness. So it's good to have you again. And I also have a new face in the house, but what's the word to use now? A new face in the house, but she's not a guest. She's one of us right here. Join me in welcoming Omokafe Dennis. Omokafe, how are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me on set today. Hello, everybody. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Omokafe.
So Omokafe is going to be a regular here. So now that you've seen her, just pay attention. You'll be seeing more and getting to know her more and more. She's my Edo sister. And we're taking over.
Okay.
And finally,
Well
I
done.
have our special guest for today. He is well known in the journalism field, although he has transitioned in a manner of speaking. But as John would say, once a journalist, always a journalist. He is Bakare Majeed. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, and it's a beautiful place to be.
Indeed. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, so on Culture Cove, as usual, we do take things across our segments. We start with what Hued Network was up and about in recent times, across town, that is. And then we take over to our next segment where we take a look at something happening within the arts. And finally, we spotlight a specific culture, cultural practice, all the way cultures interact with certain aspects of life. So let's start now with what we were up about recently. Now, Hued Network went out recently to participate in an event organized by the Center for Blacks and African Civilization, Arts and Civilization, talking about CBAC, where they organized a Pan-African cultural dialogue. And we got to hear insights from across Africa on issues of diplomacy and how countries can unite through culture. Let's take a look at what happened, and then when we come back, we'll talk about it. Don't go anywhere.
The Center for Black and African Arts and Civilization, CBAC, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs, hosted its annual Pan-African Intercultural Dialogue on Tuesday in Abuja, bringing together diplomats, students, and cultural stakeholders from across the continent. This year's event was themed Cultural Diplomacy and African Unity, promoting Pan-African Intercultural Dialogue. The gathering focused on the importance of cultural exchange as a tool for strengthening diplomatic ties and unifying the African continent. In her remarks, the Minister of Art, Culture, Tourism and Creative Economy, Hannatu Musa Musawa, described cultural diplomacy as more than just the exchange of art forms. She noted that Nigeria is celebrated globally not only for its natural resources, but for its creativity, cultural richness, and talent.
This gathering underscores the pivotal role of culture as a catalyst for unity, for development, for global influence, for unity, and for national pride. Cultural diplomacy is more than an exchange of art. It is a strategic and powerful tool that fosters mutual understanding, strengthens diplomatic ties, and enhances a nation's soft power. Nigeria is a powerhouse. Nigeria is unique. 240 very diverse ethnicities and tribes, which is our strength. Together, we can harness the power of culture to build bridges, foster understanding, and achieve the Africa we envision, the Africa that Marcus Garvey, that Nelson Mandela, the Africa that Kwame Nkrumah, the Africa that Awolowo, Sardauna, Nnamdi Nzikwe envisioned for us.
In her welcome address, Director General of CBAC, Aisha Ogi, spoke about the power of culture in building bridges across borders. She buttressed the importance of unity, adding that Africa's cooperation could expand to other sectors through intercultural exchange.
Well, I believe in African pride. And at the end of the day, everybody decides where they're from, right? Well, no, I wouldn't necessarily say everybody decides where they're from, but we found ourselves on this continent, and this continent has supported the rest of the world. We've supported the building of the rest of the world. Our resources continue to move across the world. So we should by ourselves be able to build ourselves. So the idea of Pan-African unity is not just from the perspective of just culture or understanding each other, but how do we build trade? How do we build cooperation? How do we ensure that we and our neighbors are not fighting each other? There's peace and security, there's unity. So Pan-Africanism is something that we believe in, even from the ideals of Festac 77. As Nigerians, we hosted 59 Black and African nations in Nigeria in 1977. Yeah, so we obviously align with the African Union agenda. We are part of the observer teams, and we do contribute to these items. Same with ECOWAS. CBAC is actually a voice for all Black and African people. It's based in Nigeria, but it's a Pan-African institution. So it's very important for us to continue these conversations.
The ambassador of Tunisia to Nigeria, Mohsen Antit, spoke about the need for sustained collaboration in cultural diplomacy across African nations.
So, according to them, we can promote artistic, literary, and educational exchanges to foster mutual understanding. Second is the language learning and education. This will be encouraging language learning and cultural education, which can help bridge cultural gaps. Last but not least, digital platforms. So, utilizing digital tools can showcase African cultures, promote cultural heritage, and facilitate intercultural dialogue.
The event's keynote speaker, Professor Akambi Ilupeju, urged individuals, government, and regional bodies to support initiatives that bridge cultural divides across Africa.
We urge individuals, community, government, and regional organizations to actively participate and support initiatives that foster Pan-African intercultural dialogue. The responsibility lies with all stakeholders to build bridges and cultivate shared African identity.
On her part, the cultural attaché, Cameroon High Commission in Nigeria, Professor Lola Nkamayang, encouraged language learning to promote interregional dialogue in Africa.
Language learning, education, digital tools, and even the love for our country and tolerance for other cultures can facilitate and foster our attempts to promote inter-regional dialogue and even relationships amongst us in Africa.
The dialogue had in attendance ambassadors and representatives from Equatorial Guinea, Cameroon, Angola, Tunisia, Spain, Vietnam, and the United States, as well as members of the diplomatic corps and cultural institutions. Students from several secondary schools were also present and participated in various segments of the event. The Pan-African Intercultural Dialogue proved to be a platform for celebrating Africa's cultural heritage while advocating for a unified, progressive continent through dialogue, creativity, and diplomacy.
Well, I guess that applies to not just Nigeria, but Africa as well. A land of beauty, a land of culture. And what we saw there was different cultures coming together, different countries trying to spark the Pan-African dialogue. Let's start with you, Mr. Bakare. What do you see about this idea? Because, I mean, there are varying school of thoughts about it, or varying opinions about whether there is even a need for Africans to come together.
I'm not going to say that there is more to need for you to come together, and it's not on the basis of the love of culture, because most times you look at culture from a very limited angle of things that you do indoor. It's an economic, a huge economic opportunity, and it has been the major reason why there has been a lot of lack of integration among within the continent. Because, for example, now an average person in Netherlands can wake up tomorrow and say, "No, I want to go to Belgium. I want to go and see what's happening in the UK," because you have created an economic system that allows young people. So let us do like a small sample. In this room, how many people in the last 5 years has gone to, let's say, even Benin Republic here?
Maybe just John.
So it tells you. So, and this is just a small microcosm, of sample size. If you expand the sample size, it's become much more embarrassing how it has been. Some people are probably more than 60 years of age who were born in Nigeria, never even didn't get the opportunity. Even when they have the resources to say, "Oh, let me go and look at what is happening in Benin Republic. Let me go to Niger Republic. Let me go to Cameroon." And now imagine if you have the capacity to be able to move around, the economic opportunity, ability to spend, 1 naira there, 2 naira there, what it means, in terms of the value. So it's not something that you need to preach to people and say, "Oh, let us come together, let us have Pan-Africanism." There is economic opportunity in moving around. It just makes it makes a lot of sense to move around. It doesn't make any sense that we do not move around. So it's not a gospel that we should be preaching. It's something that we should all see and look at the opportunity within tourism, ability to go to some places and see the uniqueness of it. Somebody else coming to and sometimes we have been unable to market the beauty of this continent. Some years ago, before I had the opportunity of visiting Ghana, my thoughts was just that, it's not going to be beautiful, it's not going to be this. And I just get it like, whoa. And at the point I had to be debating, is it finer than Nigeria? It's not. And normally, we didn't get this opportunity. We interact more on social media. We, do a lot of banter around, talk about jollof rice, the soccer national team. We do a lot of all those things.
Yes.
But and it's not that hard. It's already visa free, within the West African region, that you can just go stamp in and out, go by the road, have the fun of it. But we just get into, and that is why sometimes we even host football tournament on the continent, and you see some of the field and the stadium very scanty. Because we've limited ourselves that, flights are expensive, but if you have the volume, the scaling, gradually it will trickle down, then you start seeing, because today now, for you to go to some certain, maybe like Cameroon, I don't know if it has changed, you first of all need to fly to Lomé, then from Lomé back to Cameroon. And if you understand the basic principle of geography, it's like I see you first fly out of Nigeria, then fly over it again. So the reality of it is that it's not something we need to preach. For our sake, for our economic sake. I just think that's something we need to do.
Indeed, and this is why we have dialogue in the first place to talk about it. John, you were there yourself, and I saw you speaking to Professor Nkamayang and all of that. How did you feel, experiencing that? Because you're talking about leaving, but these are other nationalities that we were with right here. I mean, we had at some point, perhaps I should confess this on air, we were actually looking to talk to more of other Africans, and we realized something. We couldn't spot it, we couldn't say and look and say, this one is Nigerian, this one is, you had to go speak with
to
them. Yeah.
From their accents, that you'll be able to
I mean,
decide.
even in Nigeria here, there are some accents that you probably not even heard, So, but what's your thoughts on it? I mean, I said to an extent, you already embrace Pan-Africanism. Look at the way you're embracing all of that.
I was about to say that.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Amadin. I can say that you came from a very different angle, and it's very important, the economic benefit that comes with intercultural connection. And actually, what this particular event was all about is still reiterating the importance of connecting together, different countries in Africa. And there's something that Honorable Oge, the DG of CBAC, said. It's very, very interesting that CBAC is in Nigeria, but we are still carrying other countries along. It's not only for Nigerians, it's for Ghana and every other African country. And it's very important that you made mention of me speaking with Professor Lola, and she also buttressed the point of unity, which is very important. Imagine a Cameroonian talking about unity, let's unite as one continent. Because when there's a saying that when the eyes is crying, the nose follows suit. And when the eyes is rejoicing, the nose and the mouth follow suit. So everything still revolves
I feel
around.
like crying.
You don't have to. Well, it's still, everything still revolves around. So I think it's a very, very good event to, to call for collaboration in all spheres, not just only the economic aspect, but also the language as well. We should also adopt other people's language and not castigate it.
Indeed. Omokafe, what do you think? Should we come together or no need?
We have to come together. Take a good look at our dance, at our attires. All of those things are things we're supposed to always, embrace, merge together. And all of this helps us to, give us a very good image, especially to people who do not belong to the continent. So, whenever you ask somebody who is outside of Nigeria or a person who does not even belong to the African continent, they'll tell you, oh, Africa is a country. No, Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent with a lot of different shades of black persons. So if they're able to see the unity and all of us talking good about ourselves and interacting well, then I think we would have a very wonderful continent.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And I think one of the issues that was raised, especially from the keynote speaker there, was about how we need to give ourselves more grace than we do perhaps, to other continents. When you mentioned the, flights and all of that, a lot of people who are frequent flyers will tell you that sometimes they have it easier leaving the country to another continent than they do within the same continent. Even ticket prices, the price to a place perhaps that is your neighbor or close to you, somehow is either the same price as someone who is on the other side of the world, and you wonder why. And I think, not to get into the controversial aspects of it, but do you think at this point, are there still fingers to point, or is it all up to us now?
Okay, if I may jump at it, it's all up to us. And the thing about it is that as people, as young people, we need to be much more inquisitive than we currently are. I'll give you an example. We all speak English in Nigeria. But most times, in terms of number of countries, we're actually minority. We are surrounded by French speakers, and most people don't know how to speak French. And sometimes people who come from outside, we look and say, and they start speaking French to you, and like, I don't understand what you're saying. But they look at the map and like, okay, Benin Republic French, Niger French, Chad French, Cameroon French. How many you can speak? Okay, but what we've been able, without being deliberate about it, we've been able to get a very tiny minute of the opportunities that comes with integration, the dance move, the cultural influence of the high lives in the 60s, and how it has continued to evolve and play a critical role in our Afrobeat, our movie industry. A lot of things that we can do, and there are resources within the continent that people, travel out to Dubai to go and spend the same money. Imagine if you have a situation whereby on an average, you go to some of the safaris around the continent, you see more of people outside the continent in those safaris than this thing. And that's why you go to a place like US and the rest, and somebody may joke and say, oh, do you have elephant in town? And you'll be like, I've never seen an elephant before. And the person won't be able to believe it because there are two images that they see of Africa. Those exotic wildlife in the jungles and the extreme poverty. And you have to tell them, like, I've not seen it out the things that you're using to project us. But what we're saying is that, yes, the bigger market is fine. but there is bigger opportunity when we all, live around, because the beauty about economy, I'm sorry that I'm taking us back, because I'm trying to create it, that there is an incentive for us to do this thing. There is economic opportunity in it. There are things that are in this Abuja, like Kilichi or Dambu Namada, sometimes 2-3 years, I may not even eat it. But when somebody comes from outside and sees it for the first time, the person digs hand into the pocket and buy. And that is the power of tourism. There will be some places that will go to the things that they have on the daily. Maybe it's a souvenir, it's a particular food that's no longer of huge value to them. I'm seeing it for the first time. I'm buying. I may even pay the tourism amount because they know that, okay, this person is all right, so that's why it needs these things. And that is the kind of opportunity that is there.
Indeed.
When you move around.
Indeed.
So but the incentives outside the curiosity for us, which is very, very important, is that there must now be provision of those kind of infrastructure that can encourage being able to move around.
Indeed.
You must remove those bottlenecks that before you get your passport stamp, there'll be a lot of back and forth. Remove those things, allow people to move about, and the kind of impact that you're going to get on the long run on Naira and Kobo, it's a whole lot.
Indeed.
It's a whole lot.
Professor Ilupeju mentioned that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I hope the dialogue continues. Sometimes we only need to raise questions and the answers will follow. Thank you so much for that. We'll go on a break now. When we return, we'll delve into our second segment with what's happening in the arts. We have a very interesting one waiting for you. Don't go anywhere.
Keep watching. Please keep watching Culture Cove on Hued Network.
All right, welcome. This is still Culture Cove right here on Hued Network. And now we're going to take a look at an interesting happening, a festival right here in Abuja. I wish I had my horse, my shades and my gloves and all the aspects of Mr. Steve. But anyway, let me not let the cat out of the bag. Joan, what do you have for us from Ijebu-Ode?
Are you sure you've not already told them what?
I was just laying the groundwork.
Anyways, thank you so much. We're going straight up to Ogun State, and we all know the delectable festival that happens or that projects the Yoruba culture, and that is the Ojude Oba Festival. And of course, before I even go deep, I think that name Ojude Oba is Ojude Oba Festival. It's not just Ojude Oba. And if I want to go back to history, is a transition from a particular traditional belief to the Islam, and then there was this acceptance. There was no discrimination, and the Ojuale, right? Awujale. Thank you so much. The Awujale, that's the Oba, the king of Ijebu land, accepted this transition, and it birthed a lot of things. And one of it is the Ojude Oba Festival. And the Ojude Oba Festival, obviously, is coming to pay homage, give that respect, that loyalty, paying allegiance to the king, because there was no discrimination, like I said earlier. There was this acceptance of transiting from the traditional belief to the Islam. And these people are the descendants of, these families. And we have the families, strong families in this particular Ojude Oba. And we have, one of them is the Balogun family, Balogun Koko. And Balogun Koko is one of the, superior heads that actually also transited and, married a lot of wives, you know what I'm talking about. And we have the horse riders, and the Balogun, whenever you hear about the Balogun, we're talking about warriors. Yes, so we have the horse riders, male, female, representing different families, showing the whole parade and all. But there's one thing that literally got my attention about the Ojude Oba Festival. Just like you made mention in the first segment, I'll talk about the economic impact, the networking, the power of networking. If you see, these people are coming from different part of the world, like the Ijebu offsprings that stay both in Nigeria and in diaspora. And whenever they return, there's this networking that occurs. Whenever someone says, okay, what do you do? I'm into this, I'm into the fashion line, I'm a journalist, I'm this, I'm that, I own a brand. And okay, can I get your business card? Let's interact and all. And before you know it, everything begins to blow.
Money everywhere.
And there's money everywhere.
Yeah.
And of course, don't forget the fashion. I love to promote the fashion, the colorful parade, the beauty, everything. And we all know what it means to own. What's this fabric called again?
Ashoke.
The Ashoke. This actually buttress the power of the Yoruba culture. If I can wear an Ashoke, I think everybody will be lying down for me.
I think for me though, it's wow, that's amazing.
Very beautiful.
Is she married?
That's none of your business. That's none of your
Anyway,
business.
I think for me is just one thing that maybe I'll start with this, the main thing so I don't forget about it.
Yeah.
Is I really, really must commend the Yorubas. There's been a lot of conversation recently that I don't want to amplify, it's a bit negative, but I think people need to remember how open particularly the Yoruba people are. And it's one of the reasons why that language or that culture, their whole thing is one of the most self-replicating across Nigeria and perhaps even outside the country because of that openness. Even during this, there were some people saying, this person, are you from Ojude Oba? Why are you there? And it's why you, and the whole point of the history was that, first of all, we should add that a big reason why Islam was the preferred tradition was that a number of men were not ready to let go of their wife. There's a popular figure who actually went to pay homage that it now seems other people started going and he went there with his whole entourage and now it became a thing. So that being said, you can never see a Yoruba man and be able to predict whether he's this religion or that religion. Because that openness is there. And I feel that's what every culture needs. You need to be open to sharing it. This started with a little bit of history or rooted in Islamic and traditional
religions.
affairs. But there are numerous Christians there now. There are numerous other traditions there. So I feel, in my opinion, the more open a culture is, maybe there might be aspects that need gatekeeping, perhaps where people want to, when appropriate your culture without proper and all of that, that's different. But for the most part, I just feel open doors, letting people know that we are open, we are welcoming. It just builds the culture, which is why Yoruba language is probably going to be, I'm not saying any languages are going to die, but
extinct, right?
it's hardly going to happen because we've said it before. We could be here and none of us are Yoruba, but because we grew up in Lagos,
we speak the language.
We all speak the language. And that language can hardly ever die. When you go to a place where you have your language, but you prefer to be speaking other ones,
Let's hear from
names. But let's hear from you. What do you think about the whole affair and how it has now become almost like in national expectation annually?
Yeah, I think the beauty of Ojude Oba, because interestingly, it's not only in Ijebu that you have Ojude Oba. There are a lot of communities who have something similar. Some call it Itaoba, which is the same, variety of different one. The courtyard or the grand entrance of the king. So that is the name. But over the years is that when things are organic, when it's not like maybe you copied it. It's not like maybe somebody just woke up and said, let us do this. When it's organic and it's built around, healthy family rivalry, it can sustain itself. Because what we see nowadays, like we are the one who are catching up to it and say, oh, there is Ojude Oba. It has always been there. And what has sustained it over the years is that there is that rivalry among different families to showcase themselves, to bring out the best of them, because for them, there is a family pride on the line. And how you showcase it is not in the olden days where you have opportunity to fight battle and be the grand star. Now it's about the display of culture, it's about the display of wealth. Because when Balogun Kuku actually, it was not about him saying that there was an existing practice where different, but now he came, on horse chariot, because when you look at it very well, horses, no matter how we try to adopt it because of environmental design, it's not really a much more common
so
animal.
indigenous.
To us because of fly and the rest over time. But I was able to bring the grand style and say an entry. And so often later on people jumped on it and it became a practice. From practice becomes a ceremony. From a ceremony now is to a carnival. But what has helped to sustain it? It's about those families who will come, the regbe, the peer groups and the rest like that, who will go there, with their own style. So every year, and if you look at what Farouk said last year, he said, look, even the attire, it's decided by the family because a lot of people came for it and said, oh, we didn't like your steez. You are not giving us the vibe. No, he's not giving you vibe. He's representing the family, and whatever the family decides, that's what he's wearing. I don't want to go to the economic side so that it doesn't but it's the beauty about it that has helped it to continue to sustain, because as long as families are there, and fortunately for Ijebu, unlike most other communities who are having it, that they have entrepreneurs, businessmen who are from that axis, who have been able to associate with that brand and sustain it. For example, FCMB, who is owned by the late Subomi, Balogun Subomi, who was the first, who died some years back, 2 years or so, is there. You have Glow, by Adenoga, who is actually a major sponsor, I think Cornoy too, and the rest like that. Some of these brands who are related to it help to sustain it. You have Itauba and Ajashepo, you have it all over. But what has distinguished this particular one in the Ijebu is that those ability to get the diaspora people involved. If you look at the shades that were being marketed and saying, it was somebody else who has those wear and be able to do that partnership and say, oh, look at that Louis Vuitton on that person, is 2000. Look at this. People have been able to keen in a way that when social media, which is inevitably is going to happen, the same social media marketed, some activities and they just get out of it and move on. They are going to move on at one point. But what is going to sustain it will be those family members who inherited the practice from their grandparents, who have been able to infuse their children into that same practice that every year from all over the world. And this is one other aspect of the Japa syndrome that we do not appreciate enough. Being able to get those diaspora community, yes, on the short run, it's a loss in losing some of those talents to those people, but the ability to be able to come back home, to be able to ride those horses, are the most essential thing. And I'm talking too much, but let me just round up on this note. Is that I know some people complain and say, oh, it's just chaotic. Come on, carnivals are supposed to be chaotic, particularly for a carnival in that kind of community. So somebody say, oh, I couldn't get hotel, I couldn't do this. Now, if you go and because of Ojude Oba decide to build an hotel, you probably be getting a full house maybe once in a year, unless there's another event. So now, to those people who are in charge, how do you ensure a system that, because maintaining these steers over time takes a lot of effort. Now, how are you able to build hotels? How are you able to expand the arena? And in a way that it will be sustainable? Now, the question that you must ask yourself is that, are there ideas, activities around horse riding, around having a polo ground there that can sustain, that ecosystem? I'll give you an example, religious one, which is the usual Hajj that you go to. If you go for Hajj, the second or third day after the main Hajj, you go to the street of Mecca, where some of those, mega hotels are. Gradually it becomes very, very quiet. Sometimes I was wondering, what will happen to this place when there is no Hajj around? Probably you will not even see people. But because there's humor, which is like everyday thing, it helps to sustain that part of it. Then Muna, which is a place that does not involve Umrah, what you see up there is tents, thousands of tents that's helped to sustain. So it is now for us to look at it and say, okay, we have a cultural phenomenon here. How are we going to be able to take it to that grand style and sustain it on its own? If it's Ojude Oba as a practice, as a culture, it's going to sustain itself. because the people see it as our thing. And that is why you see Nigerians who support football team, who support Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, the big boys. But the main people in the UK or in Spain or in Italy, they support their club in their neighborhood. So even when they are doing debut counting on them, winning just 3 games in a season, they still come outside because it's organic. It's them. It's their identity. It's their culture, win or lose. So those things will keep Ojude Oba going. But on the other side, there must be that genuine effort, take care of the roads around us and make it much more grand. Indeed. And hopefully, maybe some of us who have mini Ojude Oba or the lesser known Ojude Obas and Data Oba can benefit if they slack up a bit. Someone will pick up some of the crowds. And you can see even in Kano, you have the Durban Festival, in the Lorry, you have Durban, where there are a lot of horses, but it just took one, internet spark to just create
I think that's the intersection here, the where internet comes in.
Media and everything.
Omokafe, what do you think about that?
Oh, I think it's a very beautiful thing. Like, for example, we have the King of Steeds. Now, if this social media, the internet and everything did not bring out this King of Steeds and everybody was talking about him, I don't think Ojude Oba would have even been that popular. Take a look at him. Look at his cigar, look at his everything, the tattoos. In fact, last year there was a whole rave around him. A lot of people were like, this man, if I don't marry him, something's going to happen to him. Everything. So just like Joan had talked about the fashion part, this guy became a fashion icon. He became brand ambassadors of so many brands. People were looking for him. It's the same thing for this particular year. So when it comes to festivals, it opens a whole lot. It now depends on sustainability, just as Mr. Bakare here has talked about it. How do we get to sustain it? It's one thing bringing borehole to people. It's another thing asking them or telling them how to ensure that this thing does not go away from them. So now that we have their festival very popular, when these people in the diaspora leave the places, when King of Steeds leaves, when all of these people leave, what happens to that particular city? So when it comes to Africa and our festival, I think we have to start thinking about the long-term goals, not just the short-term goals anymore. So,
Indeed. And I think just to help ourselves, we should just promote the most fun aspects of it. Nobody goes about looking for the little nitty-gritties. I mean there are always going to be challenges. In fact, the most popular festivals across the world, if we decide to focus on only the negatives, we could really paint a nasty picture.
You won't ever see the good parts.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's more of what we need, and that's what we're doing here. Also propagating and promoting this, and so prepare for the next Ojude Oba. Prepare for the next.
June is going.
Prepare for the next Igwe Festival. Prepare for the next Durban. Anyone, we're all here. We'll be here for all of them.
Yes.
Anyway, that's how we round off this segment. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Keep watching.
Please keep watching Culture
Cove on Hued Network.
Welcome back, and now to our final segment where we spotlight a specific culture of the day. Omokafe, what do you have for us today?
Okay, well, I'm going to be taking you people all the way to Northern Africa, which is Morocco. Now, if you've ever had this song, Casablanca, on TikTok, which is a TikTok sensation song by Ivana, you would hear, or you should know that Casablanca is located in Morocco. Now, today we're going to be talking about their wedding and how very similar it is to Northern Nigerian weddings and also Southern Nigerian weddings. You can see how the whole culture is, intersecting together. You might not know this, but well, it is. So, take for example, they have 3 stages. We have the hammam, we have the henna, and then we have the big ceremony. Now, for the hammam, it looks very similar to the fattening room in Akwa Ibom. But this time around, rather than feeding the bride a lot of food, she has to come out really big. Because when the groom and his family sees her, they're like, we gave her to you big, so you have to keep her big. This time around, they are baiting her with a lot of milk and sweet things and all of this. And this is just like a ritual in the sense that they are baiting her with sweet things to ensure that at every single time in that marriage, just look at the milk, the sweet soap, sugar and everything. At this particular time in her life and whatever things she goes through in that marriage, it has to be joy, it has to be amazing things, it has to be filled with fertility and the rest of it. Now we also have the thing called the henna. Now the henna is just like the dining party that Hausa girls, Fulani girls, get to have with their particular mate. So it's just a girl staying with their sisters. They design their hands with different colors of here they call it lele. So they get to design their hands with different colors that they choose, and also get to just be pretty. That's just the thing. Become really pretty and everything. Look at these very beautiful designs. I'm sure Joan will like one of these patterns.
I'm ordering for one.
She's ordering for one. So this is what they get to do for the bride. So it's like another ritual, but a fun ritual. Now we now move straight after this into the big ceremony, which is the wedding itself. Now, courtesy of, should I say, Western civilization and the rest of it, some people get to choose to wear kaftans, while some of them will be like, no, we're not doing kaftans. We have been westernized, so we are going to be wearing suits and wedding gowns. But then for a lot of people, whether they are wearing suits or wedding gowns is always so blown up. And then this one's now decided to be Moroccans, like a lot of people. So this is called the Amaria, and it's just like a table for the groom and then the bride. So they get to sit in this, and everybody gets to, these people get to carry them and everything. So their feet should not touch the ground, because at this point they are royals. They are very special people, so nobody should touch them. So it's called the Amaria. And there's also something I discovered. You see this groom here? He has to buy perfumes for his wife. If he does not buy it, then it's like, Oga, what are you doing? You have to buy perfumes for his wife. Also, another thing I discovered is the fact that this bride, her family has to sponsor the wedding. So, Amadi, if you're ever going to marry a woman that is from Morocco, then you should just know that the bride will sponsor the wedding. You don't have to spend your money. But then...
I'm thinking thoughts.
You're thinking thoughts, right? So, this particular thing now is called the fancier dress. Now, this thing is very heavy. Joan, if you ever decide to put this on your head, just know you're going to have headaches. Like a series of headaches.
But she's smiling.
Yes, that's the thing. You always have to smile. You're smiling in pain. When we were in secondary schools, or should I say primary schools, as ladies, you get to be chosen hairstyles, and then they'll tell you to plait thread. And then you have to plait it. You cannot sleep in the night, but you know that if you don't plait it, they will flog you in school. So it's like this one now. She has to wear this, and she has to smile, even while it's very heavy.
Right?
This is the bride.
Right.
So even while it's still heavy on her head, she has to smile. It's culture. It's her day. Yeah. Another thing I would like to tell you people about is the fact that the groom it's a must to buy scent perfumes for his wife to be. If he does not buy it, it's as good as saying, "Okay, you don't want your wife to smell nice" or something like that. So that's just how it is. Another twist, or should I say another thing I discovered is the fact that, they have to share sweets, dates, all those very sweet fruits and dry fruits and everything in the wedding. Now, this is to symbolize the fact that they would also be enjoying joy, fertility, and sweetness, just like the henna, the ritual in the henna gets to also give them. So, that's just all of it. So, Amadi and Joan, I would like to ask you people, including Mr. Bakare, do you think you might ever want to... he's married!
He's already...
After all these costs and the pain,
we apologize.
I'm skipping it.
We apologize to Mrs. Bakare before she finds us. But for the single Pringles here who do not have rings on their fingers, what's going on? Do you think you might go to Morocco?
Amadin, go first.
Well, we'll have to reinstate the part of the tradition where the bride takes care of the bills. Let's see what that feels like.
You have my vote?
Oh my goodness!
But it's interesting. We always love to talk about the beautiful aspects of culture. It's a marriage, it's people coming together. And then I think with the way people look forward to their weddings, perhaps even more, you could correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
The female gender, I know, my sisters back then,
yes.
And when we were playing with sticks, they're putting stuffs on their head to signify a veil and all of that. So I think everyone looks forward to their wedding, and then after this, a beautiful life continues. But then you start it with everyone around you.
I just hope when I bring in the Moroccan wedding tradition to the south and eastern part of Nigeria, they don't chase me out, because I think I am really enjoying what I'm
seeing.
But the beauty about it is that if you look at a lot of the things that we mentioned, it's just that oftentimes because of our westernization, we get rid of those things. Because I remember growing up, when you're doing naming ceremony in the Yoruba settings, there are certain elements you bring, honey, bitter cola, this thing. And there are prayers along that line.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing too with wedding. The list that you are giving, a female goat. Why do you bring a female goat? It's because female goats represent fertility.
Yeah.
Very soon. Well, we run out of time now, and that's how we end the program. But let's take a quick look at our proverb of the day, our wives saying, and let's get to see what that's about. All right, that's an interesting one there. Mr. Bakare, can you take that out for us, please?
Weather hot. You know me, say, sorry, me fowl go lay boiled egg. Sorry, let me take it again so that they can. Weather hot. You know me, say, me fowl go lay boiled eggs. I think.
What are your quick reactions to that?
It's even scientific. In nature of it, the kind of hotness that would have gotten a chicken to lay a boiled egg, that means that the chicken is also probably dead. So that's the beauty of it.
Indeed. That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. Well, I do think that it means that no matter whatever situation you're going through, it does not mean that you should choose the negative way. That's like how I think I want to see it. So even if life is hitting you, there's this word backs boost. It does not mean that you should go ahead and put your hands into something that would take away the, should I say, training that you have had all this while. So
I'm dropping my interpretation for our.
Well, to succumb to that, right, it means that you shouldn't fall for pressure. Whenever you're going through things, you shouldn't just succumb to pressure. I think that's
for me, I want to take it fantastical, where in the books of A Song of Ice and Fire, fire does not hurt a dragon.
Yes.
So same thing with a fowl or the egg, whatever it may be. I mean, like you said, if they got to the point where it would boil, that means something was already wrong and you can't get there. Remember who you are. That's how we end the program for today. Thanks so much for joining us on Culture Cove. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye for now. I am Amadin Ogbewe, and I've been here with Joan Eze, Majeed Bakare, and Omokafe Dennis. See you later.
right.